Hello and good afternoon. Hi, Richard. Hello. So, this afternoon we are going to be taking a look at the Fife October 2024 property market. Because would you believe it? It's Halloween. It's the last
Right.
day of October already. So, we're going to take a comprehensive overview for buyers and sellers. But of course, before we do that, let's watch the BT. So, are you a homeowner in Fife? Perhaps you are planning to move, sell, buy, all of the above within the next 6 to 12 months, or maybe you're on the lookout for your next dream home and have no timescales, maybe, whether you're buying or selling, having a very clear understanding of the current state of the property market in Fife is vital to make those informed decisions.
It is really vital to make a really informed decision when it comes to selling. And you might
Mhm.
even be an investor in the Fife buy-to-let sector, contemplating selling or possibly expanding your portfolio, or perhaps you could be a first-time buyer in Fife and wondering if it's now the right time to kind of jump on the market. So, regardless of what your situation is, I think knowing whether the property market in Fife favours buyers or sellers can really significantly influence your strategy.
Mhm.
So today, Sophie, I think we're going to closely
Yeah.
examine the latest data for the Fife property market so we can gain some insight into price trends, market conditions, and the overall sentiment, I think, helping everyone, whether they're buying, selling, investing, or making their first property purchase, to really be able to plan effectively. So,
Mhm.
what kind of property market does Fife have right now, Sophie?
Okay, so for those that are maybe familiar with previous analysis that we do, obviously we do the Sunday Five Property Market update every week, so that gives you a great insight. But whether you're, watching those, you'll know that one of the best ways to determine whether it's a buyer's, seller's, or balanced market is by looking at the ratio of properties marked as sold subject to concluded missives or under offer
Yeah,
compared to the total number of properties available for sale. So, for example, let's just say for argument's sake, um, if 41 properties are marketed as sold subject to concluded missives
hmm,
out of 100 available, then the market is operating at 41%.
yeah,
This ratio isn't just a random figure. It is a reflection of the overall sentiment in the market. But you might be thinking, what? Yeah, great, it's 41%, but what does that actually mean?
yeah.
So
What
we need to
represent?
break it down. Yeah, we need to break it down and put it into like layman's terms of what does that mean to then help us identify, is it buyers, sellers, or balanced? So if we were to break it down then, so an extreme buyer's market is anything from 0 to 20%. And that is buyers holding all of the cards,
Yeah,
balls in their court, if you like. It's an extreme buyer's market.
yep,
Still a buyer's market at anything from 21 to 29%. So, in that sense, the kind of buyers have the upper hand, but not as strongly. Then you hit the kind of balanced market, and that's anything from 30 to 40%, which
hmm,
is kind of stable between buyers and sellers.
yeah. That
You
kind of equilibrium, that middle ground. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have seller's market, which obviously for argument's sake would suggest this one is 41 to 49%. So sellers are starting to gain the upper hand. You know, it's the ball's starting to come into their court. You then have hot sellers market, which is anything from 50 to 59%, which is strong competition among buyers.
Yeah.
You then have finally an extreme sellers market, and that's anything from 60% plus, and that is seller dominant, with properties moving fast. And those benchmarks really do play a critical role, influencing everything from listing prices to the kind of your negotiation, the leverage with that. But
Yeah.
that is the different kind of breakdowns, if you like. But obviously our 41% was just a random figure for argument's sake.
Yeah, it's important to know where you fall into in a current market, especially as an agent, or if you're thinking about buying, whether it's an extreme buyer market, an extreme seller's market, whether it's balanced or whether it's just a seller's market. Sure, because there is differences there. And like you see, the example that you used, the 41 properties out of 100 would land us in a seller's market. So let's look at the current market and the current market trends in the past years and the current snapshot, as we'll call it, from the current Fife property market. So, you know, I like a graph and a table. So we do have one.
Let's see it. Yes. Get it up. Let's see.
Let's share that. So we could all see that clear enough at home when watching. So utilising this table, there are stats for the Fife property market. And that is KY1 to KY12, KY12, KY14 combined for over the period of October. For every October, obviously, for the last several years back to 2016, as the Fife property market is in its cycle. And it's important to compare the same month so that you could look at it year on year. So let's look at this. So the Fife property buyers or sellers property market graph here. So what we're looking at as here, you can see from left to right, you've got 2016 right up to 2024. And this is the percentage of properties marked as sold, subject to conclusion of missives, under offer, in relation to the total stock of properties that are on the market at that time, and that is October of each one of these years. And if we look at October 2016, we're sitting at 58%. So going by what you were saying in the breakdown, the 58% it would be a hot sellers market.
Yep.
And then 2017, 55%, you're still in that hot sellers market. October 2018 is 53%. So you were still in that hot sellers market. Then in 2019, down to 45%, which would take us into a seller's market, which is where you were in that example that you used. And then 2020, 59%, which then brings us back into the hot sellers market. 2021, obviously we're on the other side of COVID and lockdown and things, 78%. And that brings us, I mean, really into an extreme seller's market, which we are all too aware of. And then in 2022, it was 62%. So again, you're still in that extreme seller's market. Last year in 2023 was 59%. And that brings us back into a hot sellers market. And this month, just past October 2024, 55%, which still has us sitting in a hot sellers market. So that's quite interesting. So yeah, that's quite an interesting graph, and I do really like to have things set out like that so we could show them kind of visually as opposed to us just talking about numbers. It's quite good to see that. You can see how things range from the extreme sellers market in 2021, 2022, and how it's gradually leveled out slightly, but we are still very much in a hot sellers market. So then really you need to think about, well, what will that mean for like the Fife seller at the moment then, Sophie?
So what that means then is if you're looking to sell your property in Fife, the current market conditions require more patience and flexibility than in 2021. The days of properties flying off the market within days or even weeks are kind of mostly behind us. You obviously get the anomalies out there, but kind of average, that's kind of behind us. Meaning sellers need to prepare for longer marketing periods. And obviously, in turn with that, pricing your home realistically is more important than ever. Obviously,
Yeah,
that does come down to your agent and guiding you, and obviously you're them being the experts, but being realistic on pricing is key.
yeah,
While Five sellers enjoyed a particularly strong market in 2021 and 2022, where demand often outstripped supply, the situation has since shifted. That's in the past, and we need to move on and get
yeah,
into obviously the current times. The probability of your home selling has decreased compared to recent years. Um, if you were to look at then in the 12 months up to the middle of October 2023, 82.44% of properties in Fife that were on the market sold and completed. The rest, obviously, out with that,
hmm,
withdrew. Like they came off the market and didn't sell. However, in the 12 months up to the middle of October 2024, that percentage dropped to 80.99%. So in the 12 months up to the middle of October 2023, 82.4%. In the 12 months up to the middle of October 2024, 80.99%. Just to give you an idea, obviously, in the differences in
and
percentage, meaning more homes are sitting unsold or being withdrawn from the market altogether.
yeah, and some people might think, well, it's only 2%, but in the terms of actual figures, 2% does represent a fair bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to kind of put that into context, then the UK average has also seen a slight decline, with the national completion rate dropping from 55.56% to 53.22% in the same period. So again, as you said, Richard, you might be thinking, again, that's only really around, 2%, but
Yeah,
still,
it
it
does
is
represent. Yeah,
absolutely, yes. And in light of those changes, your marketing approach should be well thought out, whether that be utilizing digital tools such as obviously virtual tours, just like our pre-portals and our personal property tours.
yeah,
Video marketing is absolutely key, and that targeted social media campaigns can give your property that competitive edge, because that's what's going to set it apart and get your property seen to secure that buyer. And those strategies help attract your more serious buyers in a market where securing that interest is becoming more challenging. So that is where we do need to be doing something differently.
yeah. And that's why, do you know, as more and more stock becomes available in the market and it
Mhm.
becomes more saturated with available properties, buyers have a lot more choice. And then that's when you really need to, do you know, when it's a market where it's a seller's market or an extreme, do you know, seller's market and things as we've spoke about, then it's quite easy to list a property without giving much effort,
Mhm.
and it will more than likely sell. But then when you come into the flip side, that's when your agent really shows their worth. And when they
Yeah.
have a proper digital marketing strategy, they've got the right negotiating skills, they know how to price your property correctly for the market, and the
Mhm.
audience that it's going to appeal to, getting it in front of the right people,
Mhm.
is all the skills that you need when you're in a market like that to get your property sold. And
Absolutely.
that's when the market shifts like this, that's when it shows the true agents that have the skill set to do that, as opposed to
Mhm.
just sticking it on Rightmove or Zoopla or whatever, or one of the portals.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Um,
Mhm.
so then,
So
yeah, on you go.
no, I was going to say, so what does that mean for Five buyers then?
Yeah, so what does that mean for Fife buyers then? So for buyers, I think particularly in sought after parts of Fife,
Mhm.
the competition does remain quite fierce. I mean, we've got the East Neuk, we've got St Andrews, and these types of areas, which, you know, there is still quite fierce competition. So
Mhm.
also securing mortgage agreements in principle will give you a significant advance in this competition, in this
Yeah.
very competitive environment that's still in these very sought after areas. So, do you know, it's the whole thing about preparation and having your, when we last on the show, you were like, do you know, have your ducks in a row, basically, have things in place, and, do you know, be prepared. And having a
Mhm.
mortgage principle and having all that set out is getting you that one step ahead of probably the majority of people that are out there looking in these areas, because they might not be
Mhm.
thinking that far ahead. So, and if you've got a good agent, they'll advise you about that well ahead.
Mhm.
Additionally, broadening your search area may really help you, because some people get so locked in to certain areas. I think East Newt's quite a good example. People think about like Anstruther and the Ely, but in between that you've got St Monans, and St Monans is amazing, and the price point
Yeah.
in St Monans has gradually increased because people have started to see the benefit of this place right on the Fife coastal route. It's
Yeah.
just outside Pittenweem and Anstruther, and just along the road from Ely.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it was previously kind of overlooked, and it started to kind of come up, and price points have started to rise as well with that,
Mhm.
because people have started to notice the benefits of living there just as much as in the neighbouring villages, which are very sought after. So
Mhm.
yes, so broadening that search area will really help you find properties that others possibly have overlooked, and leads you to possibly better deals. Like I said,
Mhm.
you'll get something at a better price point. In less competitive areas, buyers
Mhm.
have more room for negotiation, obviously.
Yeah.
You'll likely find more flexibility on price, and even some extras on there as well, such as including fixtures and fittings and other incentives thrown in to the sellers that are quite eager to close on a deal, because obviously there's not as much demand as these more popular areas. So the pressure to make quick decisions is kind of reduced in these areas, and that allows you more time to thoroughly consider your options. So
Yeah.
you need to think about where you're looking, and if you're looking at something that's really sought after, broaden that search a wee bit, because you could find something just as good at a better
Mhm.
price point without all the competition, which is literally a 10-minute drive, possibly in some cases. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and it's also worth remembering that most sellers are also buyers as well. So any loss that you may experience on the sales side should be offset by a better deal on your next purchase. So always think of it like
Mhm.
that.
Absolutely.
If you're a seller and a buyer, which most people are, because they're going to move from one place to the next, think about the chain effect and the price points that way, and don't think that
Mhm.
you're going to, just because you're obviously, like I say, you may suffer a loss here, you're going to experience the same on the sales side. So, yeah,
Mhm.
think about the two sides of that.
Yeah.
External factors, obviously things like global economic trends and events, inflation, as we've seen,
Mhm.
interest rates, which will continue to influence the Fife property market in the coming months. These are all things, and we've kind of, over the last few shows,
Mhm.
and few weeks, Sophie, we've kind of delved right into the impacts of inflation and the trust budget and the knock-on effect of lockdown, and how that's all really affected the property market across the country, not just Fife.
Yeah. Oh.
But and we've looked at those trends, and we've had a few good graphs to demonstrate
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they of course will continue to influence the Fife property market in the coming months. So keep your
Mhm.
eye on these trends, because it's really essential for buyers and sellers alike. And like I say, in most cases, someone will be a seller and a buyer. So yeah, these are the things to think about if you are a buyer and indeed a seller in the Fife area.
Mhm. Mhm. So, final thoughts then. So, as of tomorrow, we enter into November 2024.
Yep,
So, into another month, 1 month closer to the C word. Would you believe it?
don't
The
say
five,
it yet.
yes, yeah. The Fife property market presents both opportunities and challenges, just like you
Yeah,
say, for buyers and sellers. Understanding the subtle shifts in the market dynamics is crucial for anybody planning a move, thinking a move, whether you are, as obviously you mentioned, Richard, a seasoned investor, a
yeah,
first-time buyer, or
hmm
looking to relocate to Fife. But you need to stay flexible, stay informed, and stay prepared. There's not too much preparation. You can never be too prepared and getting all the facts and asking all the questions, and it'll just make all the difference in navigating the Fife property market. The
yeah,
experience of moving is as much about the journey as it is about reaching that final destination within your property journey. And that's absolutely right, because it is all about the experience of moving, because as much as it's a stressful thing and it's really daunting, there is the fun aspect of it as well. And it is like exciting because it's a new chapter, it's somewhere new to make memories. It's something that you do want to make it, a fun experience as well. So if you can try and eliminate that stress by being informed and getting all the facts, then it is going to help you obviously at that final destination.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, moving house is up there. I think they've marked it as one of the most stressful events you could do in your life, and I think it's along there with divorce and all the rest of it. But I mean, it doesn't always have to be like that. I think that, as like you say, preparation is key. As long as you have really got your thinking cap on and thought about things properly, and if you're not too sure, got the right people advising you of what you should be doing and where things should be, and have everything in place. And depending on, like what we say, is what area you're looking in. If there's a lot of high demand in that area, you're going to have a lot of competition. So you need to be ahead of the game, or have somebody advising you. Look, you don't need to be stuck to this immediate area. You could look a wee bit further out, and it'll be, you could save a bit. You could get a good deal. You could save a bit of money. You could have a lot less stress, no competition. It could be a bit more flexible, and with the right agent and professionals advising you throughout that process, could make it a really enjoyable experience. Which moving home, or maybe even somebody that's completely relocating and things, it should be. I mean, obviously, we don't have a crystal ball, and not everything always goes to plan, especially with moving. And there's a lot that's involved in that, and down to the movers and your mortgage and your solicitors and conveyancing, and there's a lot of things. But people that do it day in, day out, and know the right people to speak to, can really help you exponentially from a situation that could be quite stressful and unpleasant, really helping you through a situation where it becomes such an enjoyable experience. And that's when you get really good feedback about how smooth transactions can be done, and how much a joy it is to have worked together and help people move, and kind of basically help them manage that part of their life as it's happening. So I think I slipped in a slogan there. But anyway,
that's why we do it though, isn't it? Like I know, for example, like Anne Marie, she loves nothing more than when people come in to collect the keys and she hands them the moving in box, and they're all excited, and she remembers them from the viewing, and then getting that final picture of them getting handed their keys in that moving box. Like I know she lives for that, and that is why we do what we do.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's made it all worth it, and we absolutely love it. It's one of the best parts of obviously the job.
Yeah. So yeah, I think those figures and those trends were quite useful. As I say, you had us break down from the extreme buyers market, extreme sellers market. We are, as we just showed from the graph, I'll quickly show it before we go off here. It could be seen quite clearly there. October this year, we are sitting in an a hot sellers market. And we've come down from that extreme sellers market in 21, 22, and 23, and 24 is now a hot sellers market, which is still a good market to be in if you are a seller. But things have plateaued slightly from the buzz of the knock-on effect from lockdown, and as I say, interest rates and trust budget, and when we've been through it all, and we'll still feel the implications of that for the months to come, as I said. But at the moment, that's where we stand, and that has, to know that gives you a good standing point for whether you're selling or whether you are a buyer, or indeed whether you're an investor and looking for property to add to your portfolio, or even, as a lot of people are doing now, investors, or some of them are offloading their portfolios for whatever reason, to know what kind of market you're going to be into at the moment. With if you're putting your property on the actual open market, it's good to know where we sit in terms of the status as a market, and it's a hot sellers market still very much at the moment in Fife.
Yes, perfect. Well, there we go. That was the October 2024 update and a quick comprehensive overview. So
and it is right. It's good, as I say, to have that visual representation of the figures, because we could just sit and say numbers, and sometimes it doesn't really resonate. So, I mean, obviously sharing that on the screen, you guys watching could pause that and have a good look at it and things as well. And good visual
Absolutely.
representation of those figures and where we sit in terms of the kind of market. But yeah, thanks for that, Sophie. Thanks for asking me to join you today and go through that.
That's okay.
If there's any questions, guys, thanks for jumping in the comments. If it's a rerun, by all means, jump in the comments and we will come back to you when we can.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, Sophie.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.